Hey, what you reading there?
Oh, this is Saga.
Saga? What's the...
Saga these nuts! Written by Brian K. Vaughan and arted, that's not a fucking word, and illustrated by Fiona Staples. Saga has had constant hype and discussion surrounding it, and I've seen it just all over my feed, all over my stories, just all over my social media. To the point where I decided to make it the next video in my I've Never Read series. Because as a comic creator working on his own self-published work, I realized it's super important to read and immerse myself in these well-known comics and graphic novels the more I continue to break into this career. Apparently, Saga does a phenomenal job executing a certain storytelling knack that I know every one of us wishes to replicate and then continue to successfully pull off every single time like it's some sort of wombo combo. And that very special skill that this comic is able to do every single time is perfectly craft the first and last page of each issue. I actually found this funny quote from Brian K. Vaughan explaining his cliffhanger approach. When working on Lost, wow, remember that show? He learned to avoid endings they dubbed schmuck bait. You know, things that schmucks would buy into. Endings where like a gun is pointed at the protagonist's head and you genuinely believe that that character is about to be killed off. Which is kind of hilarious because nowadays shows are not afraid to kill off anyone. The shock value or the goal to subvert expectations has just gone so high, you just never actually know who's going to be next on the chopping block. Schmuck bait aside, when I go to read this volume, I'm going to pay attention to if this first page sparks my interest and keeps me turning. And then I want to see if the last page makes me want to keep things going and get that next installment. So time to crack open this first page and see if I'm... Well, am I intrigued? Maybe. Leaning a little more towards confusion. Oh my god, is this an alien childbirth scene? What the fuck? Okay, I'm being immature. Let's just keep reading and... No fucking way, what? He's biting off the umbilical cord with his teeth, what the fuck? If I was ever unsure about the tone that Saga was about to put out, they cleared it up pretty fucking quick with this number. This is not a book you're gonna find on the Scholastic shelves. It's mature. I'll give credit where credit is due. I don't know what the hell is happening here, but they got me turning the page to find out more. Right after this visual whiplash, they did start setting up the story, so I'm gonna quickly summarize it spoiler-free for your viewing convenience. An interspecies couple and their newborn baby fight to escape off a planet plagued with a war that has been fought for centuries between both their races. So you got people with wings and you got people with horns. Winged people live on some planet and the horned people live on said planet's moon. The winged people look at the moon life as the galactic equivalent to the slums, meaning the horned race is viewed as lesser beings. Makes relations get a little testy. Despite that, these two lovebirds just popped out a baby named Hazel, who has both distinctive features. The wings from the mom, Alana, and the horns from the dad, Marco. I feel like I'm saying wings and horns too much. Well, both Alana and Marco's races each catch wind of this hybrid infant, and they are not about it. Zero amusement to be found. Instead, each species hires their own bounty hunters to take care of things before the opposing side finds out, which is ironic. Let's talk art. The facial expressions were top notch. I could feel every emotion and get into the character's psyche. Not an easy feat to do. The set pieces were creative. I'm still trying to decide if I like the looser painted backgrounds with the ink characters plopped on top. Production wise, it's gotta be a time saver. But there were some panels where you could feel the layer separation between the two rather than just read it together as one world. Dialogue was overall solid, but I did notice moments where some characters sounded the same. Nothing too bad, just a lot of snarky, edgy, sarcastic energy to go around, and the voices started to blend. Don't hang on to that critique too hard though, because this is the first book of the series and it sometimes takes a little time and momentum for the writer to find out and get comfortable with every character's voice. And now, the final page. Did it do the trick? Honestly, as I closed the book, I did think to myself, damn, I probably should have bought the first two. But I didn't know what I was getting into. I was afraid of overbuying. But Saga killed it with that last page magic. Things ended on an acceptable light cliffhanger. It wasn't a cliffhanger that felt cheap. It didn't outplay the entire volume. Just a solid, soft end, you know? You just never want to feel like when you get to the end of a comic issue or a volume that the whole read was nothing more than a mad dash to get to the end and then feel compelled to get the next one because you're on a binge. You want the journey to be the experience too. I'm excited to see how Saga keeps the momentum going with its complex characters, its interwoven plots, and of course, its strong openings and closings. And since the opening of this video is pretty strong, only makes sense to end it off strong too. Alien nip slips. Yeah, there you go, now I got your attention. Seriously, do you know how many were in this book? Enough to make for a pretty awkward reading experience. Or for some of you, maybe an incredibly charged experience. I mean, now if you're just trying to see some before the video ends, like some sort of cliffhanger, then all I gotta say is later, schmuck.